He's developing his pieces. He has a rook and 2 pawns for 2 minor pieces, so materially he's doing well. But the black king is little bit in the corner, and as we have said before, the dark squares are weak, and this bishop is the monster. It's attacking the rook, and Arjun now needs to be very careful. How does he continue here? It turns out he takes the pawn. Whoa, what a nice move here played by him, because now there are, if bishop f1, there is queen f1 takes bishop f1, that happens, but he goes knight to g4. This is not the best. He should have taken here. This was the best move, but knight g4 allows Arjun to take. Queen takes f1, and now bishop takes e5 first has to be played, which comes with a check. He's thinking here, Nodirbek, he takes with a check. So now he is up material. King g8 played. By the way, if you played your pawn up to f6 here, there were other issues like bishop takes f6 coming in. So king g8, and now rook takes f1 to be played, and he takes it, and Arjun must take the knight, take the rook. Yes, and the material is now sort of solidifying on the board. White has 2 minor pieces for the rook still, but black now has 3 pawns for the time being. But Nodirbek still has this bind, and this bind is very powerful because the bishop will take this pawn. The other bishop could come here. King g7, you have to move in, because if you go king f8, then you lose the h7 pawn. So you go into this pin clearly with the understanding that there is no really good discovered attack. King moves up. So Nodirbek playing calmly, coolly here, but Arjun, really hats off to him. From a difficult position, he's fought back like anything, and if he manages to draw, he would have all the chances to win the title of the Qatar Masters. So bishop g2, Nodirbek starts to expand on the queen side with the pawn move to b4. And where does Arjun go next? He goes pawn to h6, and a useful move, because in many lines this was hanging. How does Arjun now get his rook into the game is a good question to be asked. But Nodirbek clearly would understand that his chances of winning this game are dwindling. They are going down, and he brings his bishop to d3. And how does black play now? He goes king f8. So his plan is maybe to put the king on e7. The king will be centrally located. So Nodirbek now takes the pawn. He couldn't have taken it earlier, because earlier if he took, there was rook d8, and if the king moves, I can take it, bishop takes, and take the knight. But with the king moving away, now taking the pawn makes sense. Okay, Arjun is able to bring his king out in the open, which is a good improvement. Once again, materially the position is completely fine for black, and I think even now positionally it's doing well. He's on move 36. Arjun has 3 minutes on the clock. He's handled his clock well. He's handled Nodirbek's opening preparation well, and this is what you get when two world-class ambitious young players play. This is modern chess in its fullest glory that you can see. Two fighters, great opening prep, fighting till the end, using all the resources, great tactics, and so forth. Now bishop h3. I think what Arjun has figured is that here, if the knight would have taken the pawn, he would have loved to trade off one of the bishops here, which then would mean that white couldn't play for win. So Nodirbek still fighting for the win with king f4, but now Arjun plays the move g5. Very interesting move, because if you take, king takes, then a check comes in and you lose the knight. So white takes the pawn. Yes. Black takes the pawn back, gives a check. And now he's going to move his king back to g3. Well, in such a position, you just take the knight. Yes. Bishop takes g4, king takes g4, and now by all means the game is going towards a draw. Yes, you want to save this pawn with rook g8, but then slowly you may lose that pawn anyway. So he goes rook d8. He activates his rook, and I believe after this is move number 41 reached. So Arjun just takes a short break. He goes there, maybe to the washroom. Abdusattorov brings his bishop back to a1, and I think it's time to activate your rook. Go in there. Arjun takes a nice long thing. He now has used he still has 26 minutes, because after 40 moves you get half an hour. Rook moves in to d3, and now where does Nodirbek place his king? That is a question. He takes the pawn. You can see that Nodirbek being very careful about the way he proceeds, because one check, one wrong check, and the game is over. You know, that is how it is. And at stake is a title, and also the first place prize money of $25,000. The second place prize money is 15,000, and the third place is 10,000. So a5 played. He takes on a5. And now Nodirbek, Arjun must also recapture, so he takes back. Now you will see that the number of pawns on the board are also less. If at the right time Arjun can sack his rook for the bishop and one pawn, the game is already drawn. So many ways to draw, and in fact many players would have already agreed to a draw by now. But you know, these two fighters, they will play till the bitter end. That is how they are made from within. Rook d2 played, and of course there could be some mistakes like bishop c3. You don't want to go into some kind of a skewer, so king comes back to f4. And now Arjun goes with the pawn to a4. Nodirbek brings his bishop here, and his point is, if you go rook c2, then I give a check and I save my pieces there. Arjun goes to the other side. He plays his rook to h2, and now the king can move up the board. Somehow, I mean, the position is drawish, but white is trying. Maybe if he can win this pawn, the a pawn can try a bit. And Arjun has 18 minutes on the clock. Nodirbek has 35, but the game will most likely end in a draw. And Arjun now making his 48th move. He has 17 minutes on the clock. Rook h4. Oh my goodness, what a blunder. Nodirbek doesn't even write the move. He plays it, stares at his opponent. It's a completely missed double attack. Look at Arjun. He's just blundered a complete rook there. Unbelievable mistake. Unbelievable, and he can't come to grips with what he has done. The final round of the tournament, where everything was at stake, he shakes hands. Nodirbek is shaking his head. He knows that his opponent fought really hard and the draw was the right result, but he was so alert. He kept fighting. They signed the score sheets. It's an amazing game that was marred by a blunder. And there you see Nodirbek saying sorry to his opponent. What a beautiful gesture by him, and Arjun nodding his head. Really a big mistake.